This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence for your business. Hello, I just want to start with the fact that I hate the way my voice sounds right now, but I have to make this video, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep talking and try to not focus on the fact that I'm sick right now and my voice sounds like this. There's nothing I could do about it. But yeah, so I feel like it's been forever since I've made a video. It's nice to be back. I actually missed making videos in a lot of ways, but in other ways I have been really not looking forward to this at the same time because I've just been going through this huge rut lately, and it's probably one of the lengthier ruts that I have gone through over the past few years, and you know, it's kind of ongoing, but I feel like I am coming out of it, sort of, kind of, maybe. But yeah, I'm gonna just talk to you guys about what I've been up to over the past few weeks, and this video is just me sketching some doodles in my sketchbook. I will say right off the bat that, my god, when I was recording these doodles, I was bored drawing this stuff out of my mind. I don't know if you can tell just by looking. You probably can't, because I mean, obviously there were moments of engagement here and there because I like drawing, generally speaking, but time and time again I just learned that I'm not one of those people that enjoy random doodles for no reason whatsoever, and I should probably keep that in mind going forward. But anyways, it's probably something that I'm gonna touch on later on in this video. I just kind of want this video to be casual, and I guess predominantly I'm talking to you guys that are our regular viewers, so I didn't even bother doing the whole this is me and this is my channel and whatnot. So yeah, like I mentioned, I've been in a bit of a rut. So this rut is not anything super significant, I would say, but it is one of the worst ones, I think. So basically what happened is I had the commitment to go to Emerald City Comic Con for quite some time, and I was kind of looking forward to it. And I had a good time at the con overall. Well, if you guys didn't know, I attended Emerald City Comic Con recently, and it was like at the end of February, very beginning of March, so like just a few weeks ago. And it is quite far of a trip for me because of where I'm located, and because it was kind of far, and I went with a couple of my friends and we didn't want it to be super hectic. We booked in an extra day just before the convention, so we had an easier time setting up, and then we also booked a couple of days afterwards as well, so that we had some time to just hang around and not have to rush straight back home afterwards. And in a lot of ways this was great because I had an opportunity to finally catch up with a couple of friends that I don't get to see very often because they live very far from me, and so that was good. But at the same time, obviously a week, you know, is a substantial amount of time, and it does cut into the regular scheduling of other stuff that I'm committed to, such as making these videos is one of them. Actually, right off the bat, when I went to this trip, I decided that I wasn't gonna make any vlog, make a vlog out of it or take any footage. Most of the biggest reason why I made this decision right off the bat, like before I even went on the trip, is because I gotta be honest, I find it like super tedious to take clips of footage everywhere I go. I find that it really kind of prevents me from enjoying the moment properly, and it makes me feel like a crazy person when I pull out my camera, take like a few seconds of footage every now and then. Very often it ends up being, or what it feels like anyways, which honestly kind of sucks because I do really like the end product of vlogs. I enjoy being able to relive the experience, and to some degree, like I think anybody who likes watching vlogs probably really likes being taken along for the ride. But I've always just thought that it was very easy, and maybe to some people it is, like maybe to some people it's like a second nature thing, but for me it's like pulling teeth. Like, it's not super difficult, But for the most part, I find it to be a pretty big nuisance to constantly be on the lookout for footage to take. And so I didn't want to burden myself with that for this particular con, because I already felt a little bit overwhelmed with stuff before I left, because I just started posting my comic. And oh yeah, maybe I should have started with this. See, I'm not very good at promoting my own stuff, you guys. I've already forgot that I should have probably started with some important information for those of you who may have missed it. I have started posting my comic at long last on my Patreon page, and it's been great. It's been really, really amazing to finally have some pages see the light of day and to see some feedback from you guys. Those of you who are supporting me on Patreon, you're the best. Gives me so much motivation to keep going, and yeah, it's been a very, very positive experience. The positives aside, it was quite stressful before I began, because I had to think about a lot of things, and obviously when you're someone like me who's not very good at organizing, that is, it's really difficult to take everything into account. So there's a bunch of stuff that really ran up on me, and is actually currently running up on me, that I failed to plan in advance, which is okay because it's just part of the learning curve.
Let me just take a quick minute to tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. With social media getting increasingly oversaturated and tough to keep up with, I think it's important to have a portfolio website to showcase my work in an organized and professional way to potential clients. I've always found the idea of building and upkeeping a website to be super daunting. I have even tried and given up in the past, but using Squarespace has totally changed the game for me. It was super easy and fast to build a portfolio website using Squarespace's engine, which is both simple and intuitive. I really, really appreciate how quick it is to make big overall changes to the color scheme and other design elements. Squarespace has everything you might need for your online business. There's a built-in e-commerce platform where you can build your shop, whether it be digital or physical goods, and you can even set up scheduling and appointments. And if you want to share secret content for a monthly subscription, there's a members area feature in Squarespace as well, so you can have everything in one place. To start building your own website, you can head over to squarespace.com and get right to it for free. Once you put the website together and are ready to launch, you can go to squarespace.com/cosmicspectrumart and get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And now, back to the video.
One of the biggest, stressors that I've been dealing with lately is just this whole setup process. I understand that that's probably the hardest part. It's just finding a rhythm and setting everything up, setting up the Patreon system, deciding on the schedule, all those things. That was a lot for me. But another thing that I haven't even really done yet is setting up the actual public website, which obviously at this moment is just a landing page that tells people about my Patreon posting schedule and whatnot. But obviously I want to start posting the comic publicly very soon. I was planning to do it about a month after after I commenced posting on Patreon, and at this point I think it's just a little over the month mark, which is fine. It doesn't have to be a month. That was kind of an arbitrary interval anyways, but I am very impatient to have it finally see the light of day in public truly, because Patreon was more of it was a necessity. It was I needed the backlog on Patreon, and I needed to just kind of ease my mind, not make this huge deal of it, because that type of thing tends to be very stressful for me. But anyways, I'm in the midst of figuring out how to put the website together, and it's been a bit tough because I want to stick with Squarespace, because Squarespace has been great, and that's the platform that I have the most experience with. And the one thing that's kind of unfortunate is that there really aren't that many, well, at least not that I know of, that many web comics, online comics that are hosted on Squarespace. And so it's been a bit difficult for me to find my footing in terms of how I'm going to put it together and what elements the website need. I don't know. It's this whole thing. This is a technical thing that I'm not good at this stuff. I have had some terrible rage quit moments when I was trying to set up some stuff in the past, way in the past. So That's been a little bit of a headache, but I'm in the middle of figuring that out, and hopefully it won't take too long. But yeah, something that I didn't even get into at all in this video yet. Hopefully you guys are still listening. Yeah, like I said, this is just like a hangout / catch up session that I'm having with you guys because I've just been a little stressed. And I find myself like, okay, so one thing that's been kind of plaguing my mind lately is that I've really noticed that I'm starting to have an aversion. Like, it's hard to explain, but every time I want to make a piece of, like, a new piece traditionally, or just like even draw in my sketchbook something that's not a throwaway session like what you're watching right now, actually, that is a perfect example of just like throwaway doodles. I guess it's a warm-up session, but like whatever, I digress. So anytime I have this inkling or like an idea that I want to sit down and make a new painting, or just even make a more finished illustration in one of my thicker page sketchbooks, I instantly get this aversion feeling to doing that because I know I'm gonna have to record it. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's really not good, and like I don't know when I started thinking about it this way, but I just can't seem to make peace with recording stuff. One of the reasons why I had a really enjoyable time like a couple of months ago or like a month ago or whatever when I was working on my comic is because I wasn't really recording most of the process. I recorded some of it because I figured that once I start publishing the the pages, then maybe I'll be able to make some process videos, which I probably will. But for the most part, it's not something that I've been recording back to back, especially because I break up the process quite a bit and I'll be working on inks like for several pages at once and whatnot. And it is hard to record everything when you do that. And I wouldn't even want to do that anyways. And that's kind of what made the process like way more enjoyable for me, because I didn't feel like there was a camera breathing down my neck the whole time. And another thing, like it being digital, recording isn't a huge deal when it's digital. Like I can actually just record the screen and just leave it. And you know, sometimes I mess up and I leave it on for too long and it corrupts the file or not. It's like I get a little bit forgetful, but that's not the end of the world. Whereas it's a whole different thing to record my hands and like record traditional art. The lighting has to be right, which is just an ongoing issue for me. There are just so many things. Maybe not even several, maybe just like a myriad of things that are so, I don't know, difficult for me to deal with when it comes to recording things. So I should probably get some professional studio lights if I want to have proper lighting in my videos. That's something I've been somewhat aware of for a long time. But man, just the thought of like having these big lights on my table when I try to draw, it just kills the vibe for me. And it's like, drawing is supposed to be an enjoyable activity, but turning it into this clinical procedure, like where I have to make sure the lighting is right and make sure that my hands, like make it okay. One of the most difficult things lately has been making sure that the camera is not shaking, because I guess my table is not super stable or something like that. And sometimes when I make strokes, like every single stroke that I make, especially when I'm erasing something, but actually even regular strokes, they just make the table shake and they make the camera shake, and the footage ends up looking nauseating. And like, my god, there's like really nothing I can even do about that. I'm not sure how to stabilize my table. I just don't know how to stabilize my desk because it's got the legs, and I just don't really know what else I could do to not make it so shaky. And then, oh man, I was just so disappointed. Like one of my recent videos had some shaky footage in it, and I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of comments where somebody mentioned that it's like hard to watch. And that kind of thing is really sad because it's already so hard to record stuff. and I try to make it watchable, but then something like that happens and there's really so little I can do. Anyways, at this point I'm just digressing into I guess trying to figure out what caused this big aversion to recording that's been kind of plaguing me lately. I think it's just preventing me from creating new art, which is so sad. And I think it's like a backward loop that's been feeding itself, because I get back to this thing where my social media, like my art making, ends up being subservient to social media presence, and that's not what I want. It's just not what I want. It makes me very miserable, actually. And I do apologize if I'm sounding extra negative in this video. I'm not feeling super negative. I'm just telling you guys about the struggles that I'm going through. I hope it's not really annoying. Even if it is, listen, you don't have to listen to this. You can just turn it off. I just gotta get this stuff off my chest, because sometimes there's nobody that I can talk to this or talk to about the stuff, because it's so like particular. But anyways, that's been one thing that's been really kind of bogging me down, and I think the reason why I've been in such a rut for the past couple of weeks is mostly because I have been sick. So when I got back from Seattle, in Seattle, I felt fine, although the weather was terrible. It was very cold, and there was like freezing rain. At some point, it was hailing. I think I underdressed slightly because I underestimated how cold it was going to be. I just made the stupid assumption that it was going to be slightly warmer over there on the opposite coast of where I am at, and I was wrong. So there's that. But anyways, I was feeling fine during the con and everything, and then I was there for a couple of more days, and I noticed that I was kind of losing my voice. So I just assumed that it's because I talked so much during the convention that I was losing my voice. But then when I got back, I think my throat started to feel a little bit iffy, and my voice just sounded terrible. And actually, that was a reason why I couldn't even do a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago when I was planning to, on schedule, when I was supposed to, because my voice was just totally messed up. And as bad as it sounds now, a couple of weeks ago I actually couldn't even really talk. Like I was stuck with one single note. And anyways, I don't want to get into the details, but it was awful. But all things considered, it was not nearly as bad as it has been for the past few days. So I'm pretty sure this is just a common cold. Haven't had one in a long time, I gotta say. Like, this is the most I've been sick in forever. It's like way worse than when I had COVID a couple of years ago. And why I say it's a common cold is because I was just looking up the symptoms, and yeah, it was slow onset. I didn't have a fever, but I had this horrible cough, and my sinuses are just totally messed up, and my head feels like it's underwater half the time. So that's been fun. And I also had to deal with taxes because it's tax season. So it's just a combination of like being sick, being unable to do the things that I planned to do, having to dedicate all my energy towards things like taxes and whatnot, and having some ideas, but then having this huge aversion to recording. It was just like a combination of that stuff really got me down. But the thing that I really noticed that's been just completely throwing me off lately, and this is actually kind of like a big issue that I've been dealing with for a long time, it's just my attention span has gotten so bad. Like, it's been getting worse for sure, and because I am loosely aware of my habits, and sometimes I track things kind of, I can actually see that there's been a downward spike in my ability to pay attention to something properly ever since I started looking at Reels. Or, yeah, like Instagram Reels. I thank God I don't have TikTok. So that's not somewhere I've even dipped my toe into. But Instagram Reels, I didn't watch, like, ever until at some point last. I feel like I've spoken about this in a recent video, but this is like, I'm just sharing new data that I've noticed about myself. So I've been fighting with myself to try and limit the amount of time that I spent on this reel scrolling, or like this doom scrolling with the reels and the discovery feed, mostly just reels. Although the discovery feed is just as bad. But the thing is, like, it's really hard to fight it. It's almost impossible. And I find that it's just this thing where it's as if it wasn't hard enough already to get myself into proper shape where I'm productive and I am organized and I manage to get things done on time and like my life is in relatively good order. It was really hard to get to that point. Like, it takes so much self-control to be able to change habits, and it's been a long journey for me and I've made a lot of progress, but this real thing, this doom scrolling thing, is like this huge new obstacle that is way worse than I ever thought that it would be. Because as soon as something goes slightly off with my mood, which happens predictably, every month for obvious reasons, but also when I get sick, like, that's also difficult to deal with, and it's my mood's a little bit down, I feel like can't get things done and I get frustrated, and that is the most vulnerable point where I become 10 times less productive than I could have been potentially, but just getting completely sucked into doom scrolling the reels. And another thing that I have, this is gonna be so stupid, you guys, I have a Tetris addiction, okay? So stupid. And it's, I think I have a theory, okay? I have a theory that the reason why it's specifically Tetris that I get addicted to, the marathon option, is that it's this, it's the type of activity that requires almost no brain power whatsoever, but it has something to do with putting things in order. Like, loosely you could call it that, right? Because you're kind of sorting. I've always had this thing where I love sorting stuff. I don't know, it's also demented, but ever since I was a kid, I would love to sort things. Like, one of my favorite activities when I was little, I had this bag of these plastic gems. It was just like just a mix and match, just like a bunch of different plastic gems of different shapes and colors. And one of the things that I really like doing would just be to dump this bag out on the floor and just sit there and sort these gems into their piles. And sometimes I'd sort them according to shape, and usually it was like shape / color. You get the idea. So it was like, I don't even know what it is with that, but I've always been susceptible to, like, I guess, enjoying that type of mindless drone activity because it feels really soothing to me. And so Tetris is like my worst enemy. I feel like when I have Tetris on my phone, I can't even watch a movie or like listen. I can't do something without wanting to play Tetris. So my attention has been ruined completely. I can't pay attention to watching a show. I can't pay attention to watching a movie without having this like demented urge to get out my phone and play Tetris at the same time. So that's been ridiculous to deal with, to say the least. And yeah, I feel like I'm slowly trying to battle it. And I mean, obviously, like, the most logical way to get rid of that is just to delete the app, but that's no longer working for me. I just keep reinstalling it every time I feel like I want to occupy my mind and I don't want to deal with anything. Just instantly reinstall it. Like, I gotta figure out some way to just block it from my phone because it's ruining my life, you guys. Tetris is ruining my life. And so are reels, but mostly Tetris, I will say. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man. It's pretty bad. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm wasting so much time with this shit. Like, I don't want to waste all these hours a day just because I feel kind of sick. Like, I wasn't even that sick. I feel like I've been more sick in my life before. Not to downplay or anything. It was honestly pretty bad. Like, I had brain fog and all that, and yeah, but I just wasted so much time, and I could have been doing like a million other things that would have been way more productive and would have actually put me in a better mood. And so I have to figure out some sort of strategy to stop doing this to myself, because it is a choice and it's just a weakness. I need more willpower, and I think I just need to probably like put away my phone. I think I need to figure out something where I don't have to look at my phone. I've noticed that progressively, like, there's certain things that make it difficult to get rid of the phone. Like even just the calling thing, like people calling you out of the blue. Well, by people, I mean my parents. The only people that call me out of the blue are my parents. And I mean, it's gotten better over the years, but they used to be really, really bad at me not picking up. Like, they'll yell at me and they'll complain about how I don't care and all this nonsense if I fail to pick up within seconds of them ringing, or call back within like 10 minutes. And that's ridiculous. This is a ridiculous expectation. I should be able to put away my phone in the duration of my workday and not have to be on call for any little thing. And it kind of started with that. So my phone's been like always around just in case somebody calls. But then also getting like a Ring camera. So anytime like someone drops off a package at the front door, or somebody, I don't know, just knocking on the door or whatever, every time I check my phone, it's like another one of those reasons why I feel like, oh, I should know. Like, I should know if somebody's out there. Like, what if somebody, I don't know, like, I guess I get stupid thoughts, like, what if somebody's trying to break in or whatever. So yeah, like, that's another reason why I feel like I'm justified in always keeping my phone on me. But that's ridiculous. Like, people lived without cell phones constantly being in their eyesight for years, decades even, and it was not a problem. So this absolutely unreasonable expectation that I have, or like, I guess society has, like most people do this, they have their phone on them all the time. And I suppose it's more understandable when people have a job that's directly tied to their phone, like where they actually have to answer phone calls and whatnot. I'm not one of those people. I can check all my important job related stuff on my computer, which is where I spend most of my day anyway. So there really shouldn't be any reason for me to have my phone on me constantly. So I think I'm gonna have to develop some sort of policy with myself where I just leave my phone in the bedroom or somewhere away from my hands, so I can't reach for the Tetris every time I get frustrated. So yeah, and I've been really mad at myself about just taking forever with like the taxes and stuff, and being sick and falling behind schedule. And this YouTube video that I've been meaning to make for the past few weeks like set me completely behind the schedule, which is why you're looking at this random doodle session once more, because ideally I want to be well and I want to do the things for my comic and then make videos out of that. But then time and time again I find myself in the situation where something comes up, I get super busy, I fall behind schedule, and then you get these doodle pages. I mean, I honestly hope that it's somewhat enjoyable for you guys to watch, because like I mentioned, it was a snooze fest for me to draw this. And then I was thinking to myself, why am I even doing this? I hate doodling. Why am I doodling right now? Well, now you know. It's because I was in a complete rut. And yeah, I just had to figure something out. And I guess I'll just have to roll with it for this video again. So, you guys, I really just want to get back to doing important work for my comic and getting back to work on my comic, because I think that's what most of you guys want to see anyways, and that's what I want to work on the most anyways. So please wish me luck in catching up on all my stuff that I've been hopelessly behind on, and hopefully I will also be over this nasty cold, which is, I think, on its way out finally after these few really, really long weeks, which feel like months for some reason at this point. But yeah, so I don't know, I guess I will finish with the fact that I do really like making videos a lot of the time, but I have these horrible ruts where I sound completely I guess defeated, but I'm not. I'm looking forward to getting back to work again. So thank you if you've listened to this video, and hopefully I will sound better in my next one. I may not but hopefully I will. I will see you guys. Bye bye.